it's Jennifer and welcome back to the channel. Happy Lunar New Year. Yesterday was Lunar New Year. It was a work day for me. Happy Year of the Ox. This is actually my mom's like little cheongsam that I'm turning into a shirt for now, and then in the evening it will be a dress. I went out for dinner with friends at a restaurant that was doing Chinese New Year dinner that night. And tonight, me and my friends who are part of this Chinese Cayman Islands Association committee are going to be hosting a Chinese New Year party, and the chef will be cooking like proper like Chinese food. So in light of Lunar New Year, I thought I'd start a mini part series on the channel talking about Asian identity. It is something that I obviously grew up with and considered and contemplated over the many years. So for this inaugural episode, I wanted to explain my background. To summarize, I am a westernized Thai Chinese. I was born in Thailand and I'm a second generation Thai. Thailand is actually one of the very few places with a really high percentage of Chinese immigrants from way back. And most of these immigrants came from a region in Canton, and they spoke a dialect of Teochew. Chinese immigrants have immigrated to Thailand and have really gelled into Thai society. So my grandparents on my dad's side were Teochew Chinese people, and they came from the Canton region, specifically a place called Santo is where my granddad came from. My grandmother, I'm a little bit hazy as to where exactly she was from in China. And on my mom's side, she is Malaysian Chinese, and her family come from that Canton region as well. A lot of Thai Chinese people, such as myself, would consider themselves Thai. There's a lot of pride in being Thai. That might just be like propaganda of nationalism and things like that. So for the longest time, I saw myself as completely Thai. And it was only until I left Thailand and met other Asians that I also realized that there was this aspect of me being Thai that was also Chinese. Like, my grandparents were pretty traditional. We had a lot of Chinese traditions built into our lives and our gatherings with our families. We, celebrated Lunar New Year, we celebrated Moon Festival, we had all the like superstitions and beliefs of a person with a Chinese background. My grandparents spoke a mix of Thai and Teochew Chinese, so I actually understand quite a little bit of Teochew Chinese. We would go to Chinese restaurants when it's a big family gathering. All my cousins who've gotten married in like a Chinese traditional way, as well as like, incorporating the Western receptions and things like that. Some of them have also incorporated like the Thai style reception as well. To add into the mix of that, Dad had part of his education in Malaysia, in Penang, as well as in London in the UK. So he was quite westernized. And my mum is Malaysian Chinese. She kind of grew up in an era where there was a lot of English influence in Malaysia. And she also used to be a flight attendant for Saudi Arabia Airlines. So she was exposed to a lot of different cultures, different ideas as she was growing up. The fact that they exposed me to different cultures and different ways of thinking, I personally really appreciate that. But when I was much younger, it was definitely a certain point of frustration that I had to explain why I might know about certain things. People kind of like usually see you as in a box, like, oh, you're from Thailand, you're Thai. Like, you know nothing else about other Asian cultures. That used to be quite frustrating when I was younger. It is still slightly frustrating now, but much less so. So all of that definitely influenced the way I was brought up in both Thailand as well as in New Zealand. I moved to New Zealand when I was about 9 years old and grew up in New Zealand. So a lot of my way of thinking is also very much influenced by New Zealand westernized ideals. I had a lot of Asian friends. Kiwi Asian friends is either born in New Zealand or moved over to New Zealand when we were really young. And so we were kind of in this like weird in-between of being Asian and being Western, not being accepted for a while, and then now we're accepted, so it's okay. Like when you're already going through so much teenage changes and you just want to feel like you belong, it kind of makes sense that we just kind of all like group together. I didn't used to be super proud of my identities or anything like that. Think about all the stereotypes that each of those like identities have, and that's what I wasn't proud about, because I think like when people saw me, they're like, oh, you're Asian, oh, you're Thai, so I'm gonna judge you on that basis. My parents wanted me to learn Mandarin Chinese and sent me to like Saturday schools and had private tutors and stuff like that. And the first like sentence I strung together when I was learning Chinese was 我恨中国老师, which translates to I hate my Chinese teacher. My parents eventually allowed me to withdraw from these classes and not go anymore. Obviously, now I regret it, because now I'm like, damn it, It's just useful to know different languages in general. But at the time I just like didn't want anything to do with being Chinese or knowing Chinese at all. And then with my Thai aspect of myself, I wasn't proud of it for a while because of all the negative stereotyping about Thai women or Thailand. I have an English name as well as a Thai name, and because high schoolers are horrible, they would be making fun of my name. I also wasn't proud of being like Kiwi either, because other Asians who had experience with New Zealand or came to New Zealand would have these like negative experiences about, oh, like New Zealand's like really racist and we speak weird and things like that. And I didn't want to be associated with all of that either. So it's like, where do I belong? After all these years, and I guess like all these reflections and meeting new people and different people, I am much more comfortable with all aspects of my identity. That's not to say that I still don't get frustrated when people are being like slightly stereotypical or racist, because like it's tiring. So that's it for this episode. Hopefully it was interesting and hopefully you found something that you could relate to. Please let me know in the comment section down below. In a summary, how would you describe your Asian identity? I think the next episode I'll be talking about Asian beauty standards, and so stick around for that one. Bye!